out of the to-do list and step into your vision. So, many of my clients, and I see this across the board with a lot of women. We make these lists, right? And we make lists upon lists. And then do we ever finish what's on the list? So here's the thing. Lists aren't bad, and I create lists, and you should do that, like from a time prioritization standpoint. Like you wanna say like, hey, what are the top things I need to get done? What are things I can delegate? Yada yada yada. Right? That's the best leadership practice, and I think a lot of people do. But here's where it gets tricky. If you start to see yourself in a lot of overwhelm or anxiety, and you're making lists and then never getting to the list and actually getting it done, then a couple of things might be happening. And the first thing is probably in your body. If you are experiencing anxiety or overwhelm, that means your nervous system is overloaded and it needs a break. And so when we go into that sympathetic side of our nervous system, it's actually driving us to make lists. It's actually our brain saying, we got to figure this out. I don't feel good. I'm dysregulated, right? I got to make a list to make myself feel better. Or I'm anxious about something on the other side, right? Or fearing something. But that's actually a trauma response and not good leadership, okay? If you are not finishing things in integrity and being really connected to the things that you're supposed to get done, or you think are supposed to get done, then I want you to take a step back. And I want you to just really ground yourself in doing something relaxing today, maybe doing some somatic work if you're working through anxiety or trauma or overwhelm. Check out the somatic breathwork course. I'll put it in the link below again, where you can learn, grab that copy of that course, because you can learn how to really breathe into the diaphragm, make that a consistent practice in your day, because that rewires your nervous system. When we go through traumatic experiences, our brain just really kind of splits in half in some cases. Some of you have gone, I know a lot of your personal stories, and some of you have gone through just high stress. You just go, go, go. You're responsible for a lot of stuff. That's one thing. That's like pushing the gas pedal, when your car is just like at 200,000 miles, you know what I mean? Like your car's like, I don't want to go anymore. That's one kind of stress. That's kind of that chronic stress. But toxic stress or trauma, like maybe you've gone through betrayal, maybe somebody's really, really just really hurt you for a long time. Maybe you're coming back from, some major life events. Maybe you're coming back from a big health event, and it's just really taking a toll on your body. So that's when your brain can really start doing this weird thing where it's like I gotta protect myself, and this list of mine is like my security blanket, but in reality you're not actually getting it done. So that tells me, I had a client this week that this happened to, and that told me that client was it's not a mindset issue, because first we have to fix the body, right? It's actually a trauma issue where she had some stored things, some really deep stuff going way back when, and we had to get past that in order to allow her body and her mind and her soul to move forward in congruency with getting things done. So if this is happening to you, just know that you're not lazy. It's not your fault. But I want to help you, educate you more on what your body responses are, because people don't talk about this stuff enough. And if you have gone through big life, and most of us midlife have gone through something pretty big, you need to know this, because you can rewire, and that's the good news. You don't have to live like this forever, but just notice these little things that are happening. So here's how to really remedy this situation, okay? Because when we're doing the list, sometimes I think we're looking for control, and we don't really have clarity in where we're going. Maybe we're just in responding to life, we're in survival mode, right? So it's like, let's release the list today. Let's get back into calming our body. So you can just do it with me for a minute. We can just do some breathing. Breathe in for 4, and we're going to hold, and then breathe out for 4. Simple box breathing. We do this all the time. And breathe out. That hold is important. Breathe in again. Hold at the top and breathe out. I even like to breathe longer than 4. Sometimes I do like a breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 6 kind of movement. The thing here is that you're controlling your breath. Okay, so it's super simple. You can also do like tapping on your arm to just get your attention span down into your body, because we're always out there in the world trying to like figure things out, right? We're always trying to threat detect what's going to hurt me, what's not going to hurt me. Is this person aligned with me? Is this person not aligned? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to do this? Blah, 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 right? So we just have to come back into center. So try that. And then what I want you to do is, once you're regulated, once you feel back in center of who you really are, right? You're all aligned energetically. Then I want you to think of, wait a minute, what was my goal for the week? You know, what am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to create in the world? What is the impact? And then get back into your vision, right? Because that's your vision. And if you say, well, Amy, I don't have a personal vision. I've never done this work. That's okay. But leaders that are really going to the next level get out of being a follower, okay? They get out of just getting a paycheck. You know, if you're just there to clock in, clock out, get a paycheck and survive, then this is something new for you, okay? And that's okay, but this is the practice that it takes in order to really live your life in a different way. If you're overcoming major life events and you're like, I want to live in a different way, these are the practices that will work for you. So it works for personal life and for business, but it takes that cycle breaking in order to create something brand new, okay? So what you want to ask yourself after you're regulated and you're like, okay, back into vision. What am I creating? What am I doing this week in my life and or business or relationships or health, right? Get back into your vision, what you want, and don't feel guilty about what you want, even if it's big. Dream really big, because when we do that, we actually make intentional actions to make that stuff happen. So notice if you are tight anywhere. Notice if you have any blocks anywhere in your body. Do a body scan. Think about you can shut your eyes and you can think about your eyes becoming like a flashlight and going through your internal body. Just start peeking around. What's going on in there? Okay? This will help you connect into emotion. I had a client yesterday. She was making the list. She was in fight or flight mode, in sympathetic mode, and it turned out that her husband and her had gotten into a little bit of a fight the night before. She wasn't feeling heard or seen, much like the things she had experienced growing up, and it really triggered her, and she just really felt that block in her heart, right? And when that happens, it's really hard to create in our vision. It's really hard to create good communication with our teammates or lead a team or be really, just that energy that attracts people, right? We feel blocked. And so what do you want to feel? That's the first question you want to ask. Like, do I not want to feel that way? Okay. So then we want to just, give ourselves that moment. If we need to cry something out, if we need to go scream into a pillow, if we're angry about something, right? Do some somatic things to get that out of the body. I teach my kids to do this stuff, and it's awesome to see them do it because they do it. It's not like we're going around the house screaming at each other. That would be chaotic, right? But if they go and they're like, I recognize this emotion and I need to go get it out of my body because I need to give it respect that my emotions matter and I'm not going to be invalidated, right? And so that's really important stuff, guys, that we can really help generations of people. Generations before us never did this stuff. And it's too bad because a lot of them are so emotionally disconnected. They don't even know. They're just going through life, right? They're just taking it as it comes. But to me, that's just not any way to live. So these are things that will help you get back into what do I really want to feel, and then replace that to-do list with a like what do I want to feel list? What am I aligned to list, right? If you're like, oh, I have lunch today with a business partner, I have lunch today with a friend. Okay, well, great. What do you want to create in that lunch? What kind of relationship do you want to create? What kind of connection do you want to create? What do you want to feel by the end of that lunch? Get back into center with that, because if we lead that, if we want to be, oh my gosh, I just really need to get together with my friends and be joyful, well, then show up that way, be that way, right? It's all about our way of being. But sometimes we get into those cycles where it's like, oh, I really wanted to connect with that person, but you go in and you bring your own pile of stuff, right? Or maybe you're feeling a little overly opinionated about things or whatever it is. Like you may just bring your pile of junk, and then it disconnects you from the other person, and you're not really listening, you're not really present. That's a problem, right? So we get to lead differently in order to create different results. So I hope this helps you today. If you are a list builder, I want you to hear lists are not bad, but they can be a trauma response to things, and just be careful about getting into that cycle if you're not finishing things in completion, because you're giving your brain that evidence that you're not a strong finisher, and that's just not good. That doesn't build confidence, and we get to be integrity with ourselves. When we don't finish things, or we don't do things and we're not committed to it, and we're not in integrity with ourselves, that's betrayal to ourselves, and that doesn't help build our confidence. So these tools today that I shared with you will hopefully give you a new outlook on how you can really start to emotionally process the things that might be stuck. And if you need help, reach out. The breakthrough call, I'll include that link, as well as the somatic work. This is the first step, getting a coach that will help you get through these moments, or a third party of some kind. Usually not a friend or a family member, or even sometimes therapists miss the mark if they're not trauma informed. So if you know you have trauma in your background, you've got to advocate for yourself. And I know this from experience. Okay, I've got lots of things that have happened to me in life, and I've had to process through, but I've had to make sure that those individuals were really trauma informed. Otherwise, they re-traumatize, to be quite frankly with you. They'll say, oh, just change your thoughts. But when you're coming out of those big traumatic moments in your life, you're trying to process, things, whether it's, postpartum depression, birth traumas. We lost someone in my family to suicide. I had to, process that. Deep betrayal in marriage. I've experienced that. There's just a lot of things that sometimes can get in the way. So you need someone that really can understand how your stress responses are happening in the body to help you walk through that, because your body will lock up. That's just biology, and there's nothing wrong with you. And so they need to understand how these things work a little bit in conjunction. Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm Amy Looper, and I'm here to help you thrive beyond adversity, overcome chronic stress, trauma, anxiety. So we release content every single week right here on this channel to help you do just that and thrive with joy, freedom, and peace. So subscribe here today, or visit my website at www.amyleighLooper.com so that you can gain the tools and knowledge to help yourself emotionally regulate over those times in life that really put our limits to the test. I look forward to seeing you next week.